group consists of Marcina, Brian, Evan, Devin, Michelle, and Jacob. I'm Evan. I'm going to walk you through our user stories. User story 1 was for a software engineer to be able to set a username and password in order to preserve the information in their documentation. Jacob handled this story. What we did was we set up for them to be able to switch accounts, and when you click on that, it brings up the Memoranda login screen where you can create a new account, or you can log in and switch between accounts by putting in the password. This is going to be a story that's going to continue on through Sprint 3, where we actually encrypt files in the Memoranda system. User story 3 was for a user to be able to track time spent on projects to help manage time and progress on tasks. Devin handled this story. This consisted of adding storage for the time variables, to add controls for a timer, and add an option to the task, and add a way for the information that's logged in the task. So over here now we have a time spent area, and then we also have an option to start a timer right here. You can start logging time. Whenever you stop the time, that's going to be logged up here. Tracking time will be helpful in the PSP portion of the program. User story 6 was the ability to drag and drop items such as pictures and files into the notes section. I handled this story. We had to figure out what the functionality that Java Swing supported to do that, and then add the support for dragging files into the screen. Here's some example files. So if you want to pull a picture into the notes file, you can drag and drop, and it automatically brings up the logo. You can also drag and drop HTML files into, and it'll put the whole HTML file, and it also has the ability to take a text file and put the text file. And the last drag and drop was just for any other type of file that wasn't supported by drag and drop. It'll paste a link in there. User story 8 was where a user wanted to be able to categorize the notes that they make and to be able to sort them, define various notes. Michelle handled this story. This one had a task for designing and adding the tag options to notes in the GUI, adding a filter in the notes pane to show different tags, adding storage for tags attached to notes, and adding an interface in the GUI to change tags of a note. So a tag section for custom tags was added so you could name a note and then put in a tag. And then once you save that note, there's a filter by tags over here where you can filter notes based off the tag you've selected. So now we've got 2 different notes files. That's just ones that have tag 1, and this is just ones that have tag 2, and this is all the notes right here. User story 12 was for custom hotkey support. So this was to add hotkeys for common functions and also to make those customizable. Marcina and myself worked on this. We had to identify hotkey options, implement the methods to change those options, and then add options and preferences, and design a way in preferences to change those. So right now, if you go to preferences, you have hotkey selections right here, and they're all listed. And you can change individual hotkey. You can bind it to a different key that's not already selected, and it'll tell you the key's changed successfully. You can reset it back to the default, and it'll ask you if you want to go back to default. And the way these keys work is you just hit the Alt key and then X, and then it'll bring up the close. It's got different options for switching between pane, task, and notes, and things like that. You can just hit the shortcut keys. Task number 13 was to be able to move the task within the tree. The user wanted to be able to reorder the task in the tree. I worked on this user story. Basically, you can select a task and then press an arrow and it'll go down, or if you want to move it back up, or if you want to move that one up. User story 14 was a user wanted to be able to add a brief description to resources when they added them so that they can identify what that resource was. Task for this one, they needed to be able to create storage for the descriptions. They needed to look at the resource creation process and add a method to create descriptions in the resource, and then add a place in the GUI to show the description. Brian worked on this user story. So if you choose to create a resource, and then you can write a description. Now you can see there's a description that tells you what this resource is. User story number 56 was to be able to remove the edit task from the right click. This is a story finishing up a story from Sprint 1. Michelle worked on this one. There's a new way to edit a task where a new pane comes up right here. So when they click on it, they can just edit it, and then right-click Edit Task, it brings up this pane, whereas before it was done with a pop-up. This is a look at our Scrum board. You can see we're 100% done. All user stories have been closed out and completed. There were no tasks left undone from Sprint.